Hello guys, welcome to Solving Solutions, your bound channel where you get solutions to all your solving problems. It's nice having you in class again today. How have you been? On today's tutorial, we are going to look at symbology in ArcGIS Pro. Now, there is one fantastic thing I like about Esri ArcGIS and the ArcGIS Pro is that they have quite a good number of ways to symbolize your raster data, and that's actually very fantastic. So we have a digital elevation model that cuts across the coastline, and then we are going to look at a good number of primary symbologies that we can use to interpret or visualize. Let's use visualize our data set. So you can see the range of elevation from -46 to +81, and then under the primary symbology we are trying to go with stretch, right? Good. So symbolize your layer using one symbol. Now what the stretch does is that it stretches the value along a color ramp, right? Good. So now this is the color scheme, which is the color ramp. So let's go with, there's something I did. I actually want to use the name. I want to show the names so that I will stick with one of the names or one of the color ramps or the color schemes. Then we now iterate between the different options we have, right? Good. So I would want us to use aspect. That's why I actually said show the names so that we'll stick with that. Now when you use stretch, you can see the stretch type, which is %clip, right? Good. So now there are different stretch types here. Perhaps it uses this particular one because it will give us the best visualization. However, as we said earlier, we are going to toggle through different options. So you now see it shows this one because this gives us like a good gradient of the colors that are showing maybe different elevation values based on what we can see in our color scheme, or the range of values here, right? Good. So let's come to this. The next is we come to discrete. Now it groups your data based on a selected number of colors and applies a color scheme. So for consistency, we are still going with aspect, and then you can see the number of colors, right? It has been reduced. So based on this color scheme and then using discrete, this is what we have, right? Good. Now let's go to classify. Now this is actually the most popular, or it is used the most. So we are still going with our default color scheme, which is aspect, and then you have different methods. The natural break, we have the quantile, equal interval. Most times I use equal interval, defined interval, manual, and the rest of that. So now let's go with the natural breaks, which is what we have, and then we are trying to use 5 classes. Remember, if you reduce or increase the classes, the scheme will be recalculated based on what the number of classes that you have, right? Good. So I'll prefer we stick with 5 and then we see how it goes. Then we can also move to the quantile, and you now see the visualization has changed. So most times the end product you see of any raster data, or maybe an example of your digital elevation model, maybe your land use, land cover, whatever the case is, most times it's dependent on the classification, the symbology type that was used, right? Good. So we can have the same data and then perhaps use different classification method or different symbology to say, and then we are going to have a different visualization. However, we are still talking about the same data. So most times it's always important for you to know the type of data you're working with, and then what is the best symbology that would fit it, right? Good. So let's also look at okay, we've seen equal interval. Have we? No. Okay, that's equal interval, and then manual interval. Now remember that there is a description for each of the options, right? Good. So create class breaks manually or modify one of the preset classification method appropriate for your data. Now you see why I have told you something about what is appropriate for your data, right? Good. So what you want to visualize or what you want to present on a particular data might not be the same thing I want to present. However, we are talking about the same data and we might want to pass information differently. So we have the geometric interval based on the 5 classes, this color scheme, you now see how it affects the way it is being displayed, right? That's being visualized. Now if we move from classify to unique values, it assigns a color for each value. Now unique values do not exist. Do you want to compute unique values? So this will actually take a good number of time, because it might want to have unique values for each of the raster values that we have. So you can see from the drop down, earlier we had -46 to about +80 if I'm not mistaken. So it has now, okay, 81. It has now created unique values for all of those digital elevation models. So each of these values have their own colors, right? Good. So that's what this particular unique value has done. So because the range is not too much, it was able to do it as fast as it can. However, when you have quite a large range, it might take a good number of computing time, right? Good. So this is what the unique value actually does. So each of the values now have what their unique colors. So if we move down to shaded relief, and then the color scheme still want us to use aspect, and then the hue shade type, you have different options, the traditional or the multi-directional, which of them you want to use to visualize your data. Then we come to the vector field that shows direction of flow, right? Good. So let's see, displays value as vector symbol. Basically it shows the direction of flow, right? Good. And then we can see that the direction flows to the ocean, which shows that yes, that's where the water is being should I say collected, right? Good. So we have shown you 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 of them, 4 primary symbology types that we have in ArcGIS Pro, and then we are using one particular data nonetheless. However, if you have different data, you can see which one would give you a better insight or interpretation, or visualize your data the best, right? Good. So we'll see you with another interesting tutorial. Until then, keep staying safe and have a fantastic time. Bye.